Dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Architect's Vision. Nathan Walsh stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his downtown office, watching the sunset cast long shadows across the skyline, a skyline he had helped shape. As founder and CEO of Vertex Construction, he'd transformed the company from a small architectural firm to one of the most innovative structural engineering companies on the West Coast. The door opened behind him. Without turning, he knew it was Trevor Blackfield, his CFO, and the only person who would enter without knocking. "You're working late," Trevor said. "Something doesn't feel right," Nathan replied, finally turning. At 45, Nathan maintained the disciplined physique of his former military days. His steel-gray eyes missed nothing, a trait that had served him well both in combat and in business. Trevor frowned. "The Montgomery Project?" "No, Melissa." Trevor's expression changed immediately. Everyone at Vertex knew that Nathan and Melissa Walsh had built the company together from nothing. Their partnership, both personal and professional, was the foundation of their success. Or it had been. "She's been distant," Nathan continued. "Taking calls in private. Leaving early, coming home late. You think she's—" "I don't think anything yet," Nathan cut him off. "I observe, then I act. Always." Later that night, Nathan entered his empty house. The lights were off. No dinner waiting. He checked his phone. No messages from Melissa. It was the third time this week. He poured himself 2 fingers of bourbon and opened his laptop. His sister Vanessa's face appeared on screen. "Did you install it?" he asked without preamble. Vanessa nodded. Her background in cybersecurity made her invaluable. "The system's active. If anyone accesses the server files you flagged, you'll know. And the other thing? GPS tracker is live on her car." "But Nathan, are you sure about this?" "If you're wrong. If I'm wrong, no one ever needs to know." His voice was flat. "But I'm not wrong." The next morning, Nathan arrived at the office early. He nodded to security, took the executive elevator to the top floor, and noted Melissa's office door was closed. Unusual for 7 a.m. As he passed, he heard voices. One was Melissa's. The other was male, unfamiliar. Instead of interrupting, Nathan continued to his office and pulled up the security feed on his computer. The cameras showed Melissa sitting close to a man Nathan recognized as Preston Reynolds, a venture capitalist who had been circling Vertex for months, supposedly interested in investing. Nathan zoomed in on their body language, their expressions. Melissa's hand rested casually on Preston's arm. Preston leaned toward her, speaking intensely. Nathan's face remained impassive as he switched to the security logs. Melissa had been in the office until midnight. So had Preston. They had accessed the server at 11:32 p.m., specifically, files containing Vertex's client list and financial projections. That evening, the alert from Vanessa's tracking program pinged his phone. Melissa's car was parked at the Madison Hotel downtown. Nathan drove there, parked across the street, and waited. At 10:17 p.m., Melissa emerged with Preston, his arm around her waist. They kissed before getting into separate cars. Nathan said nothing when Melissa arrived home at 11:30, claiming she'd been working late. He simply nodded, kissed her cheek, and went back to reviewing blueprints as if nothing had changed. But everything had. Chapter 2. Foundations Cracked. The next week passed with methodical precision as Nathan gathered intelligence. While maintaining an outward appearance of normalcy, he documented every meeting between Melissa and Preston, every file they accessed, every late-night rendezvous. "You're sure about this approach?" Trevor asked as they shared drinks at a bar far from any of their usual haunts. "When I was in Special Forces, we had a saying," Nathan replied. "The enemy's greatest weakness is believing they're winning." Trevor looked uncomfortable. "Melissa isn't the enemy, Nathan." Nathan's gray eyes hardened. "Anyone who betrays me becomes the enemy. You should remember that." The comment hung between them, neither a threat nor a simple observation. Just a fact. Nathan thought back to how he'd met Melissa 12 years ago. He'd just left the military, haunted by missions he couldn't discuss and determined to build something lasting. Melissa had been brilliant, driven, a marketing executive who saw the potential in his architectural innovations. Together they'd mortgaged everything, worked 18-hour days, sacrificed having children to pour everything into Vertex. Or so he'd thought. A week later, Nathan intercepted an email from Preston to Melissa, sent to her personal account, but carelessly opened on her work computer. "The board members are on board." Gordon and Phillips will vote with us. That's 4-3 in our favor. After the shareholder meeting on Friday, we can announce the restructuring and won't know what hit him. Nathan forwarded the email to his private server, then deleted it from Melissa's computer. That night, he worked late, reviewing the company bylaws and shareholder agreements he had drafted years ago. The next day, Nathan met with Abigail Foster, his personal attorney. They can't simply vote you out, Abigail said after reviewing the documents. Your founder's shares have protection clauses. They can if they convince the board I'm a liability, Nathan replied. And based on these presentations they've prepared, that's exactly what they plan to do. He showed her the documents he'd obtained, a detailed case against him, claiming his military background made him unstable, his leadership style was outdated, and his refusal to consider outside investment was stifling growth. This is character assassination, Abigail said, her voice tight with anger. It's war, Nathan corrected. And they fired the first shot. That evening, Nathan met Vanessa at a small cafe. I found something, she said, sliding a flash drive across the table. Preston's not just any investor. 3 companies he's acquired in the last 5 years have been gutted and sold off for parts. Nathan nodded. And Melissa knows this? The email suggests she does. There's more. Vanessa hesitated. They're planning to move to Buenos Aires after the deal closes. One-way tickets, already purchased. Nathan's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened around his coffee cup. Saturday morning, the day after the board meeting. Later that night, Nathan sat alone in his home office, looking at a photograph of himself and Melissa on the day they signed the lease for their first office. Her smile, once radiant with shared dreams, now seemed calculating. False. He placed the photo face down and began to type. Chapter 3, Blueprint for Revenge. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Friday. At noon, Nathan called Trevor. It's time. Activate Protocol Omega. Trevor's voice was hesitant. Nathan, are you absolutely certain? Once we do this. I've been certain since the moment she first lied to me. Nathan cut him off. Execute the protocol. At 1:30 p.m., Nathan entered the boardroom alone. The 7 board members were already seated. Gordon, Phillips, and Howard, Preston's allies. Winters and Rodriguez, neutral, and only Davis and Thompson still loyal to Nathan. Melissa and Preston were seated together at the far end of the table, not even pretending anymore. Melissa looked surprised to see Nathan. Nathan, Preston smiled with practiced charm. We didn't expect you to attend. This is just a routine financial review. Is it? Nathan asked, his voice calm as he took his seat. Then why did you prepare these? He slid copies of their presentation across the table. Melissa paled. How did you know that you're sleeping with Preston? Or that you're planning to vote me out today? Or that you've already booked one-way tickets to Argentina? Nathan's voice remained eerily level. I know everything, Melissa. I always have. Preston recovered quickly. This is unprofessional, Nathan. Your paranoia is exactly why this company needs new leadership. Interesting perspective, Nathan said. Before we vote, I'd like to distribute some materials of my own. He handed each board member a folder. As they read, expressions changed from confusion to shock. What is this? Gordon asked. Documentation of every attempt by Preston and Melissa to undermine this company. Financial projections showing how Preston's proposed restructuring would destroy Vertex within 18 months. And copies of emails discussing how to divide the assets. Phillips looked up from his folder. Is this true, Melissa? Before she could answer, Nathan continued. But most importantly, confirmation that the intellectual property that makes Vertex valuable, the patented engineering processes I developed, are not owned by Vertex Corporation at all. Now Preston looked up sharply. What are you talking about? The company owns all patents and processes. Nathan smiled for the first time. No, I do. Personally, Vertex has an exclusive licensing agreement, which becomes void in the event of a hostile takeover. Check Section 12, Paragraph 4 of the contracts you apparently didn't read carefully enough. The room fell silent as board members frantically flipped through documents. This meeting is adjourned, Nathan said, standing. I suggest you all review these materials carefully before we reconvene on Monday. As he walked out, his phone buzzed with a text from Abigail. Injunction granted. Their accounts are frozen pending investigation. At 3 a.m., Nathan's phone rang. Melissa's voice was shrill with panic and rage. It's done. The company's mine. Security will escort you out in the morning. Nathan checked his watch. Right on schedule. The board vote had obviously not gone as she expected. Interesting, he replied calmly, then hung up. He immediately forwarded one email to his lawyer. The smoking gun proving Melissa and Preston had attempted to access and transfer company assets to offshore accounts. By sunrise, Melissa's phone was blowing up. Nathan could hear her in the next room, her voice rising in panic. What do you mean he owns the patents personally? That's impossible. Then, more desperately, what injunction? He can't do that. Finally, the sound of her lawyer shouting was loud enough for Nathan to hear even without speakerphone. You have no legal rights to do that with him. Nathan packed a bag calmly. When Melissa burst into the bedroom, her face was streaked with tears and rage. What have you done? She demanded. Nathan zipped his suitcase closed. I protected what's mine. Something you should have thought about before you decided to steal it. Nathan, please, you don't understand. Preston convinced me. Save it, Nathan interrupted. Your things will be packed and sent to you. This house, like the company, belongs to me. You have 1 hour to leave before security arrives. As he walked out, Melissa called after him. You can't just throw away 12 years. We can fix this. Nathan paused at the door, not turning around. 12 years ago, I trusted you with everything I had. Consider this the return on your investment. Chapter 4, Controlled Explosion. Preston paced the length of his penthouse, phone pressed to his ear. What do you mean the assets are frozen? How can he do that? Melissa sat on the leather sofa, still in shock. He knew. Somehow, he knew everything. Impossible, Preston snapped. We were careful. The doorbell rang. Preston opened it to find 2 men in suits. Mr. Reynolds? I'm Agent Dawson, FBI. This is Agent Kasparian. We have some questions about certain financial transactions you've made in the last 48 hours. Across town, Nathan sat in Abigail's office as she outlined what had happened. The judge granted the emergency injunction based on the evidence of attempted asset transfer. All company accounts are frozen, and both Melissa and Preston are temporarily barred from company premises or systems. And the board? Nathan asked. In disarray. 3 members have already rescinded their votes, claiming they were misled. Nathan nodded. What about Project Keystone? Abigail slid a document across her desk. As you predicted, they tried to access it this morning. The dummy server recorded everything. Timestamps, their IPs, the files they attempted to download. It's all here. And they have no idea the real project files are elsewhere? None. The trap worked perfectly. Later that afternoon, Nathan met with Vanessa at a secure location, a warehouse converted into a temporary command center. Screens displayed real-time information, Melissa's and Preston's locations, their phone calls, financial transactions. The malware we implanted when they accessed the dummy server has given us complete access to their devices, Vanessa explained. Every communication, every plan. Show me, Nathan said. The screens displayed text messages between Melissa and Preston. Preston, we need damage control now. Melissa, I don't understand how he knew. We were so careful. Preston, forget how he knew. Focus on what we do next. The Dubai investors are getting nervous. Melissa, Dubai investors? You said they were from Toronto. Preston, not now, Melissa. We need to salvage what we can. Nathan's expression remained neutral, but satisfaction flashed in his eyes. They're turning on each other already. Good. The next morning, Nathan arrived at Vertex headquarters, flanked by security. Employees watched in stunned silence as he entered Melissa's office and began systematically removing items, placing them in boxes. Bradford Dixon, head of operations, approached cautiously. Nathan, what's happening? There are rumors. Melissa and Preston Reynolds attempted to seize control of the company through illegal means, Nathan stated flatly. They failed. I remain CEO. Any questions? Bradford hesitated. No, sir. Good. Call an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m. I'll address the company then. At 2 p.m. sharp, Nathan stood before the assembled employees. His demeanor was calm, authoritative. Some of you have heard rumors. Here are the facts. Melissa Walsh and Preston Reynolds conspired to illegally seize control of Vertex. They failed. Business continues as usual. He paused, surveying the room. However, there will be changes. Effective immediately, Trevor Blackfield is promoted to COO. Vanessa Walsh joins as our new Chief Security Officer. Anyone uncomfortable with these changes is free to resign. Those who stay will find rewards for loyalty. Later that evening, Nathan sat alone in what had been Melissa's office, now stripped of her presence. His phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Phase 1 complete. Collateral damage minimal. Nathan replied, begin Phase 2. Chapter 5, Structural Collapse. Preston slammed his laptop shut. Every client I've contacted has refused to meet. It's like they've all been warned. Melissa paced the hotel room that had become their temporary home. My credit cards are maxed out, and the bank won't extend my line of credit. Nathan's behind this. I know it. You don't know anything. Preston snapped. You told me he was oblivious, focused only on his projects. You said he never paid attention to the business side. He didn't. At least, I thought. Melissa's phone rang, her sister Brittany. She answered eagerly, desperate for an ally. Britt, thank God. Listen, I need. But Brittany's voice was cold. I just got a visit from federal agents, Melissa. They showed me emails where you discussed using my name and social security number to open offshore accounts. Tell me that's not true. Britt, I can explain. Nathan already explained. He showed me everything. How could you do this? To him? To me? Don't call me again. The line went dead. Meanwhile, Nathan sat in a private room at the exclusive Greystone Club with 4 of Vertex's largest clients. The atmosphere was tense but respectful. Gentlemen, Nathan began, I've called you here because you deserve to know the truth about the attempted coup at Vertex. He distributed folders containing carefully selected evidence, emails, financial projections, details of Preston's history of corporate rating. As you can see, had they succeeded, all current projects would have been compromised. Your confidential designs, your intellectual property, all would have been vulnerable. Harold Munson, their oldest client, looked up from the documents. And now we continue as planned, with additional security measures I've personally implemented. The Montgomery Tower will be completed on schedule. The Singapore project begins next month as contracted. By the time the meeting ended, all 4 clients had not only committed to staying with Vertex, but had agreed to extend their contracts. That night, Melissa received a call from her lawyer. It's worse than we thought, he said without preamble. Nathan has filed a RICO suit naming both you and Preston as defendants. The evidence. He paused. Melissa, did you really think you could transfer company funds through those shell corporations without leaving a trace? What shell corporations? What are you talking about? The ones in your name. The documentation is extensive. Bank transfers, emails, signatures, all pointing to you and Preston siphoning company funds for over a year. That's impossible. We never. The evidence says otherwise. And it's not just company funds. Client deposits, project allocations. Melissa, this is federal territory now. After hanging up, Melissa confronted Preston. What did you do? The lawyer says there are shell corporations in my name. Preston's face went blank. I did what was necessary to secure our future. By forging my signature? By making me the fall person? Don't be dramatic. It's standard practice in acquisitions like this. Standard practice? It's fraud. Preston's expression hardened. Keep your voice down. This is just Nathan trying to scare us. He doesn't have the stomach for a real fight. You don't know him, Melissa whispered, sudden fear in her eyes. You have no idea what he's capable of. The next morning, Preston's phone rang. It was his biggest investor in the planned Vertex takeover. The deal's off, Preston. We're pulling out. What? You can't do that. We have agreements. Those agreements assumed clean finances. I just got a call from the SEC. They're investigating all your dealings for the past 5 years. Whatever you've done, I want no part of it. One by one, Preston's financial backers abandoned him. By the end of the day, his carefully constructed network of investors had collapsed like a house of cards. That evening, Preston received an unmarked envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a typed message. This is just the beginning. NW. Chapter 6. Buried Alive. 1 month later, Preston stood in the empty office that had once been his company headquarters. Everything of value had been repossessed, furniture, art, even the phones. His remaining staff had quit after paychecks bounced. His phone, a prepaid burner now, his regular phone having been seized by investigators, rang. Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds, this is Detective Perkins with Financial Crimes. We'd like you to come in for additional questioning. After hanging up, Preston called Melissa. They're closing in. We need to accelerate our plans. What plans? Melissa's voice was hollow. There's nothing left, Preston. My accounts are frozen. I'm living in a motel. My own sister won't speak to me. We still have the leverage on Nathan. The information about his military record. We can't use that. It's classified information. Accessing it is a federal crime. It's our only card left to play. Call him. Tell him if he doesn't back off, we release everything. Melissa hesitated. He won't respond to threats. Everyone responds to the right threat. Make the call. Later that day, Melissa met Nathan at a neutral location, a public park with plenty of witnesses. He looked the same as always, composed, controlled, unreadable. Thank you for meeting me, she began. You have 5 minutes, he replied, not sitting down. Preston wants to threaten you with information about your military past. I told him it wouldn't work, but he's desperate. Nathan's expression didn't change. Is that why you called this meeting? To warn me. Partly. And to ask, isn't this enough, Nathan? You've taken everything. The company, our home, my reputation. What more do you want? Justice, Nathan answered simply. You and Preston will face the consequences of your actions. Every last one. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What you did was calculated betrayal over months. There's a difference. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I still love you, Nathan. Despite everything. For the first time, emotion flickered across Nathan's face, cold disgust. No, you don't. You love what I provided, status, wealth, security. But you never loved me. If you had, none of this would have happened. As he turned to leave, Melissa grabbed his arm. Please, Nathan. I'll do anything. Tell me what you want. Nathan looked down at her hand until she removed it. What I want isn't something you can give. It's something I'll take. Systematically. Until there's nothing left. He walked away, leaving Melissa alone on the park bench, the weight of his words settling around her like concrete. That night, Preston received another unmarked envelope. This one contained photos. Preston meeting with known criminals 2 years earlier. Preston entering the hotel with Melissa. Preston accessing restricted files on the Vertex server. Attached was a note. The FBI receives copies tomorrow unless you're on the 6 a.m. flight to Buenos Aires. Alone. NW. When Melissa arrived at Preston's apartment the next morning, she found it empty except for a hastily scrawled note. Had to leave. Contact too dangerous now. We'll send for you when safe. P. But she knew he wouldn't. She was on her own now. Completely alone. Chapter 7. New Foundation. 6 months later, Vertex had not only recovered but was thriving. New contracts poured in, stock value doubled, and industry awards recognized Nathan's innovative structural designs that had previously been overshadowed by Melissa's more visible marketing role. Nathan had moved into a new home, a minimalist modern structure he had designed himself, all clean lines and strategic viewpoints, a physical manifestation of his mental state. Trevor and Vanessa had become his inner circle, the only people he trusted completely. The three sat on his terrace overlooking the city. The Singapore project is ahead of schedule, Trevor reported. The innovations you implemented reduced construction time by 30% without compromising structural integrity. Nathan nodded. And the legal situation? Vanessa consulted her tablet. Preston remains in Argentina. Extradition proceedings are ongoing but complicated. Melissa has agreed to testify against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. No deal, Nathan said flatly. She faces full consequences or nothing. Trevor and Vanessa exchanged glances. Nathan, Trevor began cautiously. The DA says her testimony is crucial to the broader case against Preston's network. Without it, we provide the additional evidence we've been holding back. Nathan cut him off. The offshore accounts. The threats to former employees. Everything. That would mean revealing how we obtained some of that information, Vanessa pointed out. Methods that weren't exactly by the book. Then find another way, Nathan said. But Melissa doesn't get leniency. Not from me. Not from anyone. Later that evening, Nathan was reviewing blueprints when his security system alerted him to a visitor. The camera showed a young man in his early 20s. Andrew, Melissa's son from her first marriage, a college student who had lived with them during summers and holidays. Nathan hesitated, then unlocked the gate. Andrew stood awkwardly in the living room. Nice place, he said finally. What do you want, Andrew? Nathan asked. I need to understand what happened. Mom won't talk about it. She just cries. She betrayed me. Betrayed everything we built together. There's nothing else to understand. Andrew's expression hardened. She made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Like accessing company servers using her credentials after she was banned? Like forwarding confidential documents about ongoing projects. The color drained from Andrew's face. How did you know it was you helping her? I know everything, Andrew. The timestamps. The IP addresses. Your digital fingerprints are all over the breaches. She's my mother. She said she just needed some files she'd been working on. She lied. Just like she lied to me. And you became her accomplice. Andrew's voice shook. What are you going to do? I've already done it. Check your student email. Your fellowship has been rescinded. Your campus housing application for next semester has been denied. You can't do that. That fellowship was merit-based. The foundation that funds it is chaired by Harold Munson, Vertex's biggest client. When he learned of your involvement in corporate espionage that nearly destroyed his favorite architect's company, well, he made his own decision. Andrew's shock turned to desperate anger. You were like a father to me. And you were like a son, Nathan replied, his voice finally betraying emotion, not sadness, but cold disappointment. Remember that the next time someone asks you to betray your principles for family loyalty. He walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Andrew. After Andrew left, Nathan poured himself a bourbon and stood looking out at the city lights. He knew his actions toward Andrew were harsh, perhaps even cruel. But he had learned long ago, betrayal had consequences. Always. Chapter 8, Fortress Walls. A year after the attempted takeover, Nathan stood on the stage at the International Architecture and Engineering Awards, accepting the Innovation in Structural Design Award for the Singapore Tower, a project that had nearly been derailed by Melissa and Preston's scheme. This award belongs to the entire Vertex team, he said in his acceptance speech. People who understand that true innovation comes from integrity, vision, and unwavering loyalty to principles larger than ourselves. The implied message wasn't lost on industry insiders who had followed the dramatic implosion of Preston's career and Melissa's ongoing legal troubles. After the ceremony, Nathan was approached by Sophia Davis, a brilliant architect whose work he had long admired. Congratulations, she said. The Singapore Tower is revolutionary. Thank you. Your Alpine Center was robbed last year. It should have won. Sophia smiled. Politics. Always politics. Join me for a drink. Nathan offered. Later, at the hotel bar, their professional discussion evolved into something more personal. Everyone's talking about your comeback, Sophia said. Rising from the ashes after what your wife did. Ex-wife, Nathan corrected. And I didn't rise from ashes. I simply removed what was trying to burn me. Sophia studied him. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone bitter. Damaged. Instead, you seem… What? Dangerously self-contained. Like you've built walls no one can breach. Nathan's phone buzzed with an alert. He checked it, then stood abruptly. I need to go. Professional emergency. It wasn't a professional emergency. It was a personal alert. Melissa had been spotted near his home. When he arrived, she was sitting on the steps outside his gate. Security called me, he said, not approaching too closely. You're violating the restraining order. Melissa looked thin, older. The confident executive had been replaced by someone haunted, diminished. I'm leaving the country, she said. Voluntary deportation as part of my plea deal. I needed to see you one last time. You've seen me. Now go. Nathan, please. After everything we meant to each other. We meant nothing to each other, he cut her off. I thought we did. I was wrong. That's not true. I loved you. I made a terrible mistake, but I loved you. Love without loyalty is just convenient affection. It's worthless. Melissa stood, wavering slightly. Is this really what you want? To be alone? To have no one in your life who isn't afraid of you? For a moment, something flickered in Nathan's eyes. Not doubt, exactly, but awareness. Awareness of what he had become in his quest for justice. What I want is irrelevant, he said finally. This is what I need. Goodbye, Melissa. He turned and walked through his gate, not looking back as she called after him one last time. The next morning, Nathan received a package. Inside was a handwritten letter from Melissa and a small velvet box containing her wedding ring. He didn't read the letter. He simply burned it, watching the pages curl and blacken until nothing remained but ash. The ring he placed in a small safe along with other reminders of lessons learned. His father's watch, stopped at the moment of his death. a bullet that had nearly killed him in Afghanistan, and now, the ring that had symbolized a commitment as false as fool's gold. Later that day, Nathan met with his executive team to discuss Vertex's 5-year expansion plan. No one mentioned Melissa's deportation, though everyone had seen the news. After the meeting, Trevor lingered. I heard Sophia Davis is considering our offer to collaborate on the Dubai project. Nathan nodded. She has conditions. Creative control, primarily. Will you agree? If her vision aligns with our standards, yes. Trevor hesitated. She's also asking about you. Personally. Nathan's expression closed like a vault. My personal life is separate from business. Is it? Nathan, it's been a year. At some point, nothing. Nathan interrupted. The company is thriving. That's all that matters. Trevor sighed. That's not all that matters, and you know it. You've rebuilt the company stronger than ever. But you're becoming a fortress with no doors. Nathan looked out his window at the city skyline. Fortresses survive, Trevor. That's their purpose. Chapter 9. The Architect Alone. 2 years after the attempted takeover, Vertex had expanded globally. Nathan's designs were recognized worldwide for their innovation and sustainability. The company that Melissa and Preston had tried to steal was now worth 10 times what it had been, its value built on Nathan's vision and the loyalty of those who had stood with him. On a rare day off, Nathan sat in his home office reviewing personal correspondence, mostly invitations to speak at universities and conferences, which he systematically declined. A news alert flashed on his screen. Former financial executive Preston Reynolds found dead in Buenos Aires. The article detailed how Preston, facing extradition and financial ruin, had apparently taken his own life rather than face justice. Nathan closed the alert without reaction. Preston's death meant nothing to him, neither satisfaction nor closure. It was simply the final chapter in a story that had ended for Nathan the moment he discovered the betrayal. His phone rang. Abigail Foster, his attorney. I assume you've seen the news about Reynolds, she said. Yes. There's something you should know. He left a recorded message. It mentions you specifically. Nathan's interest quickened slightly. What did it say? That you destroyed him deliberately, methodically. That everything, the SEC investigation, the investors backing out, even his partners turning on him, was orchestrated by you from the beginning. Is there evidence supporting these claims? None. It's the desperate ranting of a broken man. But Abigail hesitated. Nathan, he also claimed you accessed classified military intelligence to blackmail former associates. That's a serious allegation. Unfounded. I know, but these things can take on a life of their own. The press will find nothing because there's nothing to find. Preston destroyed himself through his own actions. I merely ensured he couldn't take others down with him. After hanging up, Nathan walked through his empty house to the terrace overlooking the city. The skyline was dotted with buildings he had designed, monuments to his vision that would stand long after he was gone. His phone rang again. Sophia Davis. I heard about Reynolds, she said when he answered. Are you all right? Nathan was surprised by the question. Why wouldn't I be? Because regardless of what he did, a man is dead. Because it brings back the whole ugly chapter. Because you're human, Nathan, despite how hard you try to be otherwise. Her directness was both irritating and refreshing. I'm fine. It changes nothing, doesn't it? The man who helped destroy your marriage, who tried to steal your company, he's gone. Doesn't that give you any sense of, I don't know, closure? Closure is a myth people embrace to feel better about unresolved pain, Nathan replied. I don't need it. Sophia was silent for a moment. You know, most people would find that perspective unbearably bleak. I'm not most people. No, she agreed. You're not. That's why the Dubai project needs you. That's why I need you. The word need hung between them, layered with meanings beyond the professional. I'll review your revised designs tomorrow, Nathan said, deflecting. Not good enough. I'm coming over. We need to finalize the structural elements before the client meeting. Before he could object, she had hung up. 2 hours later, Sophia was spreading blueprints across Nathan's dining table, her enthusiasm for the project breaking through his carefully maintained distance. The cantilever system you proposed is brilliant, she admitted. I've integrated it here and here, creating the floating effect while maintaining structural integrity. As they worked, the professional barriers between them gradually lowered. Sophia was his equal intellectually, challenging his ideas even as she built upon them. You need people, Nathan, she said abruptly as they took a break. Not just employees or associates. Actual people who know you. The real you. The real me isn't particularly likable, he replied. I disagree. Underneath all that tactical genius and ruthless efficiency is someone who cares deeply. Too deeply, maybe. That's why you build such high walls. Nathan felt uncomfortably exposed. You don't know me, Sophia. I know enough. I know you're lonely. I know you've convinced yourself that's the price of success. And I know you're wrong. Her boldness both challenged and intrigued him. No one spoke to him this way anymore. Not even Trevor or Vanessa, who had learned to respect his boundaries. Before he could respond, his security system alerted him to another visitor. The camera showed Andrew standing at his gate. I need to deal with this, Nathan said, his expression closing again. Andrew had gained weight, lost hair, aged beyond his years. His eyes held the desperate look of someone with nothing left to lose. What do you want? Nathan asked through the intercom. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Against his better judgment, Nathan let him in. Andrew stood awkwardly in the living room, just as he had 2 years earlier. Mom's dead, he said without preamble. Nathan's expression didn't change. When? Last week. In Madrid. They're saying natural causes, but... Andrew's voice broke. She had nothing left to live for. You made sure of that. Your mother made her own choices, Nathan replied coldly. So did you. She was trying to protect me. The files I accessed, she needed them to prove she wasn't the mastermind behind all of it. That Preston manipulated her. And did those files prove that? Andrew looked away. No. They proved she was lying to me too. That she was involved from the beginning. Nathan nodded once, unsurprised. Why are you here, Andrew? Because she left you a letter. She made me promise to deliver it personally. He held out an envelope, his hand trembling slightly. And because I need to know, was any of it real? Did you ever actually care about us? Nathan took the envelope but didn't open it. I cared. That's why the betrayal mattered. After Andrew left, Sophia emerged from the kitchen where she had discreetly withdrawn during the confrontation. Are you going to read it? Nathan looked down at the envelope in his hands. No. Nathan. It doesn't matter what it says. Explanations, justifications, more lies. None of it changes anything. Sophia stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. It might not change the past, but it could change how you move forward. I've moved forward. The company is thriving. Our projects are revolutionary. What more is there? Life, Sophia said simply. Connection. Forgiveness. Not for her, but for yourself. Nathan looked at her for a long moment. Then, deliberately, he placed the unopened letter in a drawer. Some things can't be forgiven, he said. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Sophia didn't argue. Instead, she simply asked, and us? Is this a bridge or a wall? The question hung between them, challenging everything Nathan had built, not just his company or his reputation, but the carefully constructed fortress around his heart. In that moment, Nathan Walsh stood at a crossroads. Continue alone, secure in his isolation, or risk lowering the drawbridge. He looked at Sophia, then at the drawer containing Melissa's final message. The past couldn't be changed. Trust, once broken, couldn't be fully restored. But perhaps, just perhaps, new foundations could be built. I don't know yet, he answered honestly, but I'm willing to find out. Sophia nodded, understanding both what he said and what he didn't. They returned to their blueprints, working side by side as night fell over the city Nathan had helped build, a skyline of his own design, impressive but incomplete, just like the man himself. In his pocket, Nathan's fingers closed around the small key to the safe where he kept his reminders, his father's watch, the bullet, Melissa's ring, monuments to lessons learned through pain. Perhaps someday, they would be just objects, their power diminished by time and healing. But not today. Today, they remained warnings. Trust is built once. Betrayal is paid for forever. And Nathan Walsh would never forget. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.